Alright, so greetings from Bell Gardens, California, pretty much LA County. It's a pretty vast city. It's got a lot of little pockets of, sub-cities. But yeah, so Bell Gardens, we're at the Sam's Club. Sam's Club is actually a pretty cool place to, if you need some downtime to hang out, because they do have free Wi-Fi. So I just spent majority of my morning watching some South Park, getting caught up on that. So as far as where we left, we were in Vegas. We had a good time there, hanging out with my buddy Blake, and then we made our way down to Yuma. And we got to Yuma at like 5 in the morning. I was already asleep, and then I woke up to a banging on the door. It was 7 a.m. and it was the security guards, like, ready to check us in. And they're like, "Where are you coming from?" And I was in such a haze. I didn't even know where we were coming from, where we were going. I didn't know where we were. Um, yeah, so just the fact that kind of waking up in a daze kind of took me a little while to get my stuff together, but I figured it out, and we got that load all taken care of. And then we were supposed to go from Yuma to Industry, California, like another part of like LA, Orange County. And before we could do that, we were actually on safety hold because my teammate Iman, he had to get his actual license photocopied. He had had his temporary one. He finally got his plastic one, and he had already at the dispatch office in Mir Loma got it photocopied, but it was too dark, and so they told us, yeah, you're on safety hold. So I went into that shipper. I faxed it over. It was still too dark, and then I had the idea to take a picture of the ID front and back on my iPhone, and then email it. So I did that, and it was all good and fine. Um, so we started taking that load, and it was a pretty heavy load. It was like 43,000. So we were rolling at like 75, 76,000 total, almost maxed out on the 80. And they didn't have a scale, and so I kind of asked them, like, where's the nearest scale? They're like, oh, there's a Love's off the freeway. So I make my way to the freeway, start heading west. I'm kind of looking for this Love's, and I finally check on my iPhone app, and it was behind us. It was actually a little bit east of that the point we got onto the freeway. So I was like, crap. And we were already in Yuma, so California was there before we knew it, and I knew there was an inspection station, and I was like, all right, it's cool. Right after that was a weigh station. And so I was just kind of crossing my fingers, going over the scales, like green light steer, green light drive, green light trailer tandem. So we did not scale that load, and I was really fortunate that that they weighed it, they balanced the weight correctly and all that stuff. So that was a little bit freaky. But back to the fact that I had helped Iman out while he was asleep by photocopying his stuff and sending him the pictures of his ID. I thought, all of a sudden he wakes up. He's like, "All right, cool. You helped me out." He's like, "Where's my ID?" And I was like, "Dude, I have no idea. We pretty much checked everywhere." And then it finally hit me. Maybe, just maybe, I'd put it in my little side pocket on my Levi's. And maybe, just maybe, when I was doing my pre-trip and like checking the trailer out and bending down and all that stuff, maybe it fell out. So I was a little freaked out. So 20 minutes kind of rolled by. I'm kind of thinking in my head, like, what happened? What happened? And like I asked him, I was like, dude, check the glove compartment. He checked it. And then finally we pull over, and I even like pull out my ID and put it in my pocket and like test it to see if it would have fallen out, and not sure what's going on at this point. And finally I look in the glove compartment underneath Iman's stuff, and it was right there. And I can't even tell you how relieved I was, because if he had lost it, we were already going to LA. I would have had to have I would have had to drop him off at like a DMV. He would have had to get a temporary one. It would have been a big ordeal. So that whole time we were already running late. We had like a 5.5 window to do like 250 miles. We ended up showing up late. There's one point on the freeway where it was really confusing. I should have had my Qualcomm directions turned up so I kind of knew where I was going, but I missed the freeway. I turned around, I missed it again, and then I finally got off the right exit, and then my Qualcomm, the satellite feed cut out, so I passed it, and it was just an ordeal. It wasted like a half hour. So we finally got that good and done. It wasn't late, but then we made our way from Paramount, California, more LA, Orange County area, to Grand Prairie, Texas. And getting out of there was pretty horrible. Iman had to drive through LA traffic. California is definitely one of the worst places to drive because it's a lower speed and all that, but plus the traffic, especially in Southern California, it's freaking horrible. So we finally get that load to Grand Prairie, and then they throw us 3 more like in a row. We had to do a little quick local run from Lancaster to Dallas, like suburbs of Dallas to the city of Dallas. And then they wanted us to shoot over from Fort Worth up to Tulsa, Oklahoma. And that was a high priority load. You couldn't stop within 200 miles of the shipper for safety purposes. So we finally got that good and taken care of. And the thing was, right when I got into Oklahoma, I saw, all right, way station coming up, 1.5 miles, and we have the pre-pass, and it usually will blink green, but this time it didn't, and I had my music up, and I kind of spaced. I know I hate to admit it, I kind of spaced out on it, and before I know it, I'm passing it, and I don't have a green light, and I'm kind of like, oh crap, I just skipped a scale house. And so I don't know if it's the fact that we're swift. I kind of waved to the people in the scale house when I did. It didn't even look like anyone was looking. But for the next 15 miles, I was kind of driving, waiting for a freaking trooper to pull me over, and luckily it didn't happen. And that kind of reminded me also when we were recently going through Idaho. I forgot to mention in my last video, there was a scale house, pulled in. Usually there's a speed limit sign. There was no speed limit sign. I guess I should have figured go as slow as you can, but I rolled over the scales at like 15 miles per hour. This big like red stop back up sign comes on, and I back it up slow, and I get it all scaled, and it's all good and fine. It was pretty heavy, but it was all good and fine. And then I could see the guy in the scale house, and he gets on the microphone. He's like, all right, now leave the same way you should have come in. And I kind of was just like, slower? And he's like, yeah, slower. So I kind of felt like a doofus, but hey, I'm with Swift. What can I say? Starter company. So once we made it to Tulsa, we went to Pryor, Oklahoma, a little bit northeast, not too far, like 40 miles. And then we made our way back to Carson, California, which is pretty much, again, LA, Orange County, all that stuff. So while we were making our way, we had this load wasn't due till the 12th. Right now it's the 10th, so we ended up having to T-call it. And then my teammate Iman, we had to do a local swap. That's pretty much what happens. If you have a load that you get into the area, it's not due for a few days, you can leave it at the Miraloma terminal, and then you'll swap it out. Someone else will take that, you swap it out for something. And while we were on our way from Oklahoma to here, we passed by the off the I-40. There's a crater, a meteor crater, like the biggest, most well-preserved meteor crater impact site in the world. And we had time, and Iman was asleep, and it was 6 miles off the freeway, so I said, screw it. So I go off, and I wake him up. I'm like, dude, we're at this meteor crater. And he's like confused. He's like, oh, I'm sure you could see him better at night. I'm like, no, dude, it's not a meteor shower area. It's a meteor crater. And here's this black cat rolling up. Don't cross my path. He's staring right at me. Go, kitty. I don't need any more bad luck. So we get there, and it turns out it's $16 for this frickin' meteor crater viewpoint. So we said screw it. Not that we're both broke, but I mean, Iman's got 2 kids, and he sends money back home to Egypt, and it just wasn't at a point where we were like, all right, let's just do this. So anyway, we finally get here. We're actually a few miles from his house, so he ends up parking the truck at the Sam's Club. He wakes me up. He's like, dude, I'm gonna go hang out with my family. So he went to church with his family, and he brought them all here and showed them the truck, and like woke me up, and we actually all went out to Soup Plantation and had some lunch. So it was pretty cool. He's got a pretty big family. But besides all that, the drama of the video is when we were just before California. I just finished my run, and basically we pull into this this truck stop, and there's spots over here, and there's like a few spots here which I should have parked right there. And then there's a few here that have these flat tires like blocking them, like don't park here. And I end up pulling in and trying to back up, and I didn't have it straight enough, so I pulled up and repositioned, and I knew that tire was there, and I missed it with my drive wheels, and I kind of pivoted the wheel, and I turned. I ran right over this flat tire on the ground with my front driver side steer wheels, and it kind of lipped up onto the tire and then settled into it, and it just it ripped off the front side of the bumper. So I had to do the macro 55. I was in an accident, all this stuff, and so I don't know what it's going to mean financially. It might mean like a $500 deductible to me, but all in all, it's not good. So Oh well.